Because spiritual things are things beyond the physical. And we don't see them out here. What I think of spirituality, I think is how we learn to live in the ebb and flow of life. How we learn to live with that wonderful, joyful things that happen, and how we learn to live with the not so joyful things. I think that's an example of what a spiritual life is about. Learning to live in the ebb and flow, and learning to trust something that we can't see. So here's some big news. You know, I'm having surgery this week. Tuesday, like 2 days from now. 2 days. Here I am, Sunday, 2 days. My left knee joint will be titanium and plastic, and bone will be gone, and there'll be all sorts of things happening there. So I've been getting prepared for that. And as I was thinking about getting prepared for that, I was like, well, there's more than just one way to get prepared. And so there's the physical preparation, the mental preparation, the emotional preparation, and the spiritual preparation. You know, I said to myself, you know, you have to be ready on all levels for that. And I was thinking about my physical preparation, and it just so happened at the beginning of this year, you know, I kind of knew my knee was not good. And I started doing some prehab with an athletic trainer. I went to the chiropractor. We got me balanced. We got me like really in pretty good shape. And ever since then, I've been going to the gym about 3 times a week, doing my band work and doing this and, you know, doing this stuff and getting stronger, staying stronger, engaging those muscles so they're not atrophied when I go in. So that's been really good. I've been getting ready physically for that. A couple weeks ago, I had my dentist appointment, got that taken care of, my teeth are good. I had my physical with my doctor, had the blood work, everything's good. Cholesterol's a little high. I said, well, I eat lots of avocados. He says, well, maybe you want to cut out some of those. I'm like, darn. Yeah, it's like my favorite food. So I've been getting ready physically. And I even bought a new set of sheets for the bed. Because the sheets we have, they stay smooth like for one night, and then they get all crumpled up. It doesn't quite fit around the mattress. I'm like, I want a set of sheets that I can be sleeping on that are going to be crisp, you know. None of those soft 800 thread silk ones. Nah, something crisp, something to keep me going. So am I ready physically? I feel pretty good physically. I feel like I'm in good condition, as good a condition as I can be in, needing a knee replacement, and I feel good about that. So physical, check. Ready, set, go. That's the name of this lesson. Ready, set, go. So the second thing, mentally. Am I ready mentally? Am I ready mentally for this? And I've been preparing mentally. I've got the guest speakers coming, so that's taken care of right here. We've got the order of service out to people who are doing different things. In my construction administration job, I've done the punch list, and I've been communicating with the contractors, and they all know I'll be out. And even on Friday afternoon, they stopped sending me so many emails. I'm like, they got it, right? They got it. That's good. I got the bills paid. I'm the one who pays the bills in our household, so I got them all laid out. Got the checkbook laid out. I use Excel spreadsheet for that. So, yeah. You can tell where I'm going with this, maybe. So everything's ready. I feel really good about my doctor. I feel really confident about my doctor. I feel confident about my rehab team. In fact, I've already made my first PT appointment in the next 2 weeks as well. So everything mentally, I've checked it all off. I feel good. Am I ready mentally? Yeah, I'm ready mentally. Things are good. So that leaves the invisible duo of emotions and spirituality, spiritually and emotionally. And I'm like, you know what? Those aren't the kind of things you just check off a list. There aren't the kind of things where you just go out into the world and find what you need on the shelf and bring it in, check it off. No, that's not what happens with emotions and the spiritual aspect of being prepared. So I had to ask myself, well, how do you feel about your surgery? How do you feel about your surgery? Well, feelings are exactly what I'm working with this Akashic healer you're going to hear next week with Bonnie Grace, and she's really called me out on this, about how I feel about things and how I can articulate feelings. And, well, here's what I found out, I have to tell you. I'm a little bit scared, I'm a little bit anxious, and I'm sad. Because you know what? I'm really not looking forward to being fragile and vulnerable. Not on my list of things I want to be. Fragile and vulnerable. I don't like the idea of being sucked out of the world. This world that's going to keep on spinning. Y'all are going to keep on doing whatever you're doing. But not me. Not me. I'll be plucked out at home with this, according to the doctor, this big basketball of a knee. I'm like, oh, I don't want that visualization. I'll talk about that later. I want to be plucked out of there. And I feel scared a little bit. I feel a little bit scared that things aren't going to work out. That somehow I'm not going to heal properly. Or that I'm going to need some awful damn lesson before the pain goes away. You know how we are in New Thought. It's like, well, it's a lesson you got to learn. I don't want that. I'm a little scared about that. So there, I said it. That's the way I feel. And you know what? It's freeing. It's freeing just to admit that, you know what? I'm not all zen about everything. You know, that's not the way I roll. I'm a human being. And I have my doubts and I have my uncertainties. And it's all right to claim that. I feel like, oh, it's a weight off my shoulders just to say it out loud. Instead of pretending that somehow everything's cool, everything's all right. Well, you know what? I know I need this surgery. I know that the pain is starting, it's affecting our life. It's affecting Renee and I's life. It's affecting my life. It's affecting my attitude. It's affecting my ability to dance, which I love to dance, and I haven't danced for a lot of years. But admitting and acknowledging how I feel is really important. Admitting and acknowledging it actually gives me the freedom. And what I recognize is that admitting and acknowledging is like leaning into it. Instead of repressing it or pretending like it isn't there, it's more like just leaning into it. And so this story from Mark Nepo's Book of Awakening expresses this idea. So listen to this. It was the philosopher Michael Zimmerman who told the story of being a boy in school when someone passed him a pair of Chinese handcuffs. Y'all know what those are? Okay, Chinese handcuffs, a seemingly innocent thimble-like casing with an opening at each end. It was passed to him without a word, and of course, through curiosity, he slipped his left forefinger in, and then the right one in the other side. And mysteriously, what made them handcuffs was that the more you tried to pull your fingers out, the tighter they held you. The tighter they held you. Feeling caught, he panicked and pulled harder. The small cuffs tightened. But suddenly it occurred to him to try the opposite. And as he leaned his fingers into the problem, the small casing slackened, and he could gently and slowly work his fingers free. So many times in our life, pulling in panic only handcuffs us more tightly. Do you hear that? In this small moment, the philosopher as a boy reveals to us the paradox that underscores all courage. That leaning into what is gripping us will allow us to work our way free. That's what I'm talking about, leaning in to what is gripping us, leaning into that fear, leaning into that uncertainty, leaning into it is what allows us to be free of it. So am I ready emotionally? Well, yes, I'm ready emotionally because this freedom of leaning into it has allowed me to let it go. To be okay with myself the way I am. To not be resisting it or pushing it down. So I think I'm ready emotionally. That's what I'm saying. So that leaves spiritually. Well, let me tell you something right off the bat about spirituality. You don't get ready spiritually at the last minute. That's not something you can do. Getting ready spiritually happens over time. It's a foundation in life. It's a foundation that we feed, that we pay attention to. We can't go out and just get spirituality off the shelf either. It's something that we develop over time. A spiritual nature to us, spiritually. And because spiritual things are things beyond the physical. We don't see them out here. What I think of spirituality, I think is how we learn to live in the ebb and flow of life. How we learn to live with that wonderful, joyful things that happen, and how we learn to live with the not so joyful things. I think that's an example of what a spiritual life is about. Learning to live in the ebb and flow, and learning to trust something that we can't see. Now there's a story that you probably, if you've read the news in the last weeks, maybe you've heard about, that I want to share with you, that I think is a demonstration of spiritual maturity, let me call it. You may have heard of the Dallas police officer Amber Geiger, who walked into the wrong apartment and shot the occupant and murdered a man who was sitting on his couch watching TV. Amber is a young officer. She is white, and the man she shot, Botham Jean, is black. And she killed him in his own home, sitting there watching TV, thinking she had gone into her apartment, but had mistakenly gone into his. So her trial was just this past week. October 3rd is the date of the story. And Botham's brother, Brant, was on the stand during the sentencing piece of the trial. He's 18 years old, and he asked the judge for permission to hug his brother's killer. He said, "I don't even want you to go to jail," he told her. "I want the best for you because I know that's exactly what Botham would have wanted for you." His father, Botham Jean's father, named Bertram, said he accepts the jury's decision. He was sentenced to 10 years, and she was sentenced to 10 years in jail. And he accepts that decision. He says this, "I felt the same way as Brant, his son. I wish I could have extended the same courtesy." He's talking about hugging his son's killer in court. That's what Christ would want us to do. "If you will not forgive, neither will the Father forgive you. I don't want to see her rot in hell. I don't want to see her rot in prison. I hope this will help her to change and recognize the damage, the hurt that our family's going through. So I wish her well, and I pray for her family and pray for her as well." This is what is possible with a foundation of spirituality. This is what happens when someone is spiritually mature. This is what's possible, because if you look out here in the world and look at what happened, that is not on the radar. That is not on the radar at all. None of it. That is a spiritual maturity that is way beyond myself. I'll just own it for that. I don't know if that would be possible for me. And the fact that they were able to forgive in that instant actually brought criticism on social media. They were judged for it. They were judged for being able to forgive. They said, people expect black folks to forgive all the time. You know what I expect? That's not an expectation. That's a demonstration of spiritual maturity. That's a demonstration of living the Christ-like and God-driven life. That's what that is. Let me read it right from the Bible. Let me read you what I think applies here. In both cases, listen to this from the book of Matthew, chapter 5. Here's another old saying that deserves a second look. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Is that going to get us anywhere? Here's what I propose. Don't hit back at all. If someone strikes you, stand there and take it. If someone drags you into court and sues you for the shirt off your back, gift wrap your best coat and make a present of it. And if someone takes unfair advantage of you, use the occasion to practice the servant life. No more tit-for-tat stuff. Live generously. That's the instruction. That's the instruction. And as far as being judged, here's about that. You've heard this just recently in here. You are blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution. Here they are, having a commitment to God, having the ability to forgive in the moment, not after 10 years of therapy, but in the moment. You're blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution. The persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. Not only that, count yourselves blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. What it means is that the truth is too close for comfort and they are uncomfortable. You can be glad when that happens. Cheer even, for though they don't like it, I do. And all heaven applauds and know that you are in good company. Yes. But we have to practice. You know what? That young man, 18 years old, and that father, that wasn't the first time they practiced this. I don't think so. I think they developed that spiritual foundation in themselves because they paid attention to it. I've used these words before. We have to have an appetite for God. We have to have an appetite for it. We can't just walk out of here and feel good and be moved but not be changed. have that appetite, have that desire to be spiritually evolved. Because that's what spirituality is about: evolution. It's about contemplation. It's about meditation. It's about prayer. It's about peace. It's about hope. It's about love. It's about all those things that need our attention in us. So what does that mean for me going into my surgery? You may have think I got off track here, huh? Well, I was thinking about my own spiritual path. And I was remembering that back in 1994, after I had cancer, is when I first began my conscious spiritual journey. Conscious. When I went to the bookstore, back when the self-help section in 1994 was fairly small. I guess we all need a lot more help today. It's a lot larger in the bookstores today. But it was a small section in the back of the bookstore, and I went there and I picked up a book. And it was Conversations with God, Book 1 by Neil Donald Walsh. And I picked it up off the shelf and I looked in there and I was intrigued and I took it home. And for a lot of years, for 5 or 6 years, it was my Bible. And I learned something about God that I hadn't learned up to that time. And I carried it all the time. And then in 2001, Renee and I went to Unity Church here. And I was blown away. I was like this big sponge. Every time I walked in there, I was just taking in the lessons and what was being taught there. My mentor, Reverend Russell Highland, I know he saw that in me, and he encouraged me, and he said, go to the spiritual education enrichment classes, go out to Unity Village, and go up to Maryland and take them, and do all these things. And pretty soon, in 2010, I became a licensed Unity teacher. I was all about some Unity. I love the teachings. The teachings are strong. They're solid. And I didn't stop there. And a few years later, in 2013 or 14, is when I took online classes with the University of Metaphysics, and I became an ordained minister through those classes, and began to study for my master's as well. And even today, I'm online taking a class about the Bhagavad Gita, because I want to understand and better understand the Hindu perspective with regards to religion. In fact, I went to bed after the first class, and I woke up the next morning. I don't have dreams that I remember. I don't know what that is about me, but that's just the way it is. But I woke up thinking of this Hindu guru whose name was Avalokiteshvara. And it's a mouthful. And I woke up thinking of that, and I'm like, he didn't talk about that during the class. I know he didn't talk. Where do I know that name from? Because it's not a name that you just run across, right? Avalokiteshvara. Where'd that come from? And I thought, it must be in the autobiography of a yogi that was on my bookshelf. I'm like, I bet you it's in there. It's the autobiography of Paramahansa Yogananda, another, a Hindu sage, right? So I started looking in the book, and I had a few dog-eared pages in there, and sure enough, on page 129 in that book, it gave me the affirmation that I needed to have to support my spiritual life for this surgery. And that was this: the divine creative life force in me has no limitations. The divine creative life force in me has no limitations. Well, Avalokiteshvara I did not find, but I found exactly what I was looking for, exactly what I needed in that moment to follow the spiritual path in your life. It's not going to be, my path is not your path. But that I wanted to share with you my path, part of my path, and that's what it brought me to. Look what it brought me to, this affirmation that is so important as I begin to embark on this surgery. To see not a basketball knee, but the divine creative life force that has no limitations in my body. Boom! That's what I'm saying. I found it. It's a reminder of the truth. And I'll tell you what, am I ready spiritually? Yes, I'm ready spiritually. And it's really not about ready, set, go. That was a little misleading title to this lesson. You know what it really is? It's really ready, set, let go. It really is ready, set, let go. To release. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically is to let go. That's the lesson. It was important for me to break it down for myself. to let go, to learn to live in this ebb and flow, to trust something greater. I mean, look at your card. What does it say? Breathe. Trust in something greater than your fear. Trusting in that something that's greater than anything you can see. I think Brent Jean was trusting in that when he hugged Amber Geiger. Absolutely. I think his father, Bertram Jean, knows that to his core. And I'm going to trust that. I'm going to trust that, and I'm going to invite your warm wishes and your prayers. I'm going to invite all of the vibrational energy that you're willing to send me, because I know that makes a difference. It's not coming from you, it's coming through you. And I trust in that unequivocally. I'll miss you for a couple weeks, and I want you to know that I am happy to spend the time that I need on my own physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual work around it. And I trust that I will join you at the absolute perfect moment in a few weeks. So let's have a meditation together this afternoon. Let's prepare for that by getting comfortable in our chair. Come and take a pillow if you prefer. And to breathe in and breathe out. Settling in easily. To feel the trust rising out of you. The immense trust in that something greater. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Allah, call it the divine, call it God. Let's learn during this meditation, let's learn what it feels like to trust. To trust in something greater, something unseen, something filled with possibility and power, with strength and courage, all wrapped up in love. They asked her, "What is the key to saving the world?" And she answered, "You. You are the key. Heal yourself, know yourself, make yourself whole and free. Release all limits so that your love can flow unconditionally for yourself and the world. This will open the heaven of your heart, and it will guide you without fail."